All right, Matt. Um, Back again, another week. I had a pretty easy, no stress NFL weekend since the Dolphins were on a bye after last
So
week's
did
game.
I did too.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess yeah, no stress for either of us. But I mean, you had more than just no stress. You had like like good celebratory weekend, I guess you could say. Whereas I just kind of was sitting back and watching everything else unfold. And went really good for Miami, actually. A really good NFL weekend for Miami. But we'll get into that a little bit later. As usual, why don't you start us off with your Cowboys because they destroyed the poor Giants, who are, I don't even know what, in the Drake May conversation now. Like, honestly, I don't even know. Um, Maybe they'll look to get Marvin Harrison. I don't know. But Giants are cooked for the rest of the year, and I think the Cowboys buried them. So usually after good performances, I'm guessing you don't have a ton to say. So I'm guessing you're not gonna have a ton this week. But why don't you just give us your uh performance grades for the Cowboys?
Well, I mean, the score kind of indicates how the game went, I would say. So I'm not gonna complain about anything really today, but more kind of point out the things that I liked and that we need to continue this momentum going forward. Because, after a tough week against the Eagles, right, it was such a heartbreaking loss. Um, you kind of need a game to get your mojo back in a way. And couldn't have been a better team to play than the Giants, honestly. But it was a get right game. I think, nobody really expected Dallas to lose this game, but was it possible they could kind of, it's the Giants. We beat them 40 to nothing the first time. We're going to take it easy. They might just, get by, you could say. But the really good thing is they put their foot on the gas pedal and they dominate. That's a good sign to me. So we can roll into next week with that momentum. But, the good things in this game that I really want to focus on is really the offense. Obviously, 49 points. It looks good. But there are some things that I think, man, if they can do this going forward, this team is going to be a tough out for anybody in the playoffs. And, it kind of started early. I would say, I think Mike McCarthy sometimes, and really going back to Kellen Moore as well, there's some points in some games where it's like there's no motion. The play calling is very dull, right? But I thought this game, they started off a lot of motion. There was a lot of pre snap motions. I think that obviously helps any quarterback. You get your pre reads down, you know what coverage is being run, man or zone, is a blitz coming or not. So just doing that early really kind of eased Dak into the game, I think. And obviously the box score speaks for himself. Dak Prescott had his best game of the year statistically, but the motion was there. I liked that. Um, CD Lamb was a huge part of that, right? They lined him up in the backfield. He scores a rushing touchdown. He continues to cook everybody that he's going up against. Another 150-yard game for him. So, nothing really surprising at this point. In my opinion, he's a top five receiver in this league. And every game he keeps doing this, it just keeps proving my case more and more. But the encouraging thing about this game is it wasn't just the CeeDee Lamb show or bust. Yes, it's the Giants. I'm putting that into perspective, but Brandon Cooks, uh, nice of him to kind of show up for once because he's had a pretty rough season. I don't think he topped, I believe, 60 yards in a game coming into the Giants this week, but he breaks out for 173 yards. But it was the way that they were utilizing him. They were getting him picks. They got him going deep, uh, lining him up man to man, kind of just using his speed really to win those one-on-one matchups. that's what you got to do. And Michael Gallup, kind of it was an okay game for him. He had 2 catches, but he had the deep catch for the touchdown. And with Cooper Rush going into the game, he had a nice catch down the sideline. But if Gallup can be that vertical threat, because I've come to accept the fact that he's not going to be a number 2 guy, but he's still pretty solid and a bigger receiver for us where he can win those 50-50 jump balls, give us big chunk plays. So if I can get that in a big time game, yeah, that's the kind of things I'll take. Jake Ferguson scores a touchdown. He's really establishing himself as a quality tight end in this league. So a lot of good things. And really something that I want to see more is the running game. So, Tony Pollard comes into the season, RB1, he's going to get the bulk of the carries, but quite honestly, he hasn't looked that good since maybe last year before the injury. So it was kind of nice to see a breath of fresh air with Rico Dowdle. I know he's the number 2 back. He's not going to overtake Pollard in the depth chart, but he had some explosive plays in this game. And I need to see more of that. And I think it's kind of starting to set in that Tony Pollard is best when he's not a bell cow back. He can be, a 50-50 split. It's not going to be that. But if you can get a 65-35 split in carries and touches, that's something that I need to look forward to. I don't need Tony Pollard to be Derrick Henry and get 95% of touches out of the backfield, because I've seen enough from Rico Dowdle that he's kind of the change of pace now. Like Pollard looks, dare I say it, looks kind of like Zeke, like in the way he's been running the past couple of games, where it's like he hasn't really had that explosion hitting the hole, but Rico Dowdle has fresh legs and it's kind of showing. So I need to see more of that going forward. That's going to make our offense just out of this world good. And the defense, it was the Giants, nothing really to bash their heads on. But, Deron Bland gets another interception, leads the league in that category since he's been drafted. So a lot of good things. It was kind of everything. The only junk thing is Micah Parsons didn't get a sack, but nothing really to complain about, really. And the last thing is Dak Prescott. I know it's the Giants. I've been saying this a lot, but 404 yards, a rushing touchdown with 4 touchdowns passing. MVP. I mean, he's been putting up some big time numbers ever since the 49ers game. So I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. Micah Parsons has been advocating for that. And the thing with Dak is I rip him so much because he plays so bad in big games. But this is kind of like the classic Dak, right? He plays good against weaker competition. But if Dak can do this going forward, not even 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. If you can play efficient, take care of the ball, this team is going to be great. So they did what they had to do against the Giants. It's a tough week because we're going on the road, but you play the Panthers, you should be able to take care of business. I mean, Bryce Young has no line. We have a top 3 defensive line. Let's expose that matchup and give Bryce Young a hell of a day on Sunday. So a good week for me, very stress-free after the Eagles week, so I'm happy. But yeah, there wasn't really too much I'm going to break down here, so I think we can get on with the rest of the show. Make it easier for you and everybody else listening to this podcast. We'll save the big rants for the big games.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I was watching the game. I mean, it was just poor Tommy DeVito back there,
It
man.
was
Like,
so bad that I actually turned the game off in the fourth quarter because I never do that unless it's just bad. But I actually switched to watch the Commanders and the Seahawks on
that
my
was a good game
computer.
too, though.
Yeah. So I actually switched to watch that game because the Dallas game was just over. So way to go. Way to go, boys. Let's keep that momentum going.
Okay, perfect. Well, that gives us frees up a lot of time actually for us to get
And no
in.
no Dolphins, so it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah, well, just I'll touch really quick on just some injury updates. So good news. Hopefully, it sounds like we're gonna get Achan back in this, second half stretch for the Dolphins. Really big 5 game stretch, like I kind of alluded to last week, where we have essentially five, winnable games against teams that if we put our best foot forward, we should win. Um, so a really important stretch here. I think telling you the key number we're looking for is 4-1, because that'll get us to 10 wins on the rest of the year. And we close out with a tough 3 game schedule. Dallas, Baltimore, and then Buffalo. But at least we get Buffalo at home in December, so that should help a little bit. And with how Buffalo's looked, you know, I mean that's a winnable game. Definitely. They split last year too, but uh, even more so now after tonight. So, we'll get right into it tonight. I don't know. Such a like this is one of those games, Matt, where it felt like neither team like deserved to win, if that makes sense. Like poor execution from both sides. The Broncos, I don't know how many penalties they had on offense. I mean, just like
And it's like
false
the worst
starts
time to
and
third
yeah,
downs, right?
false starts, back them up, illegal formation. I don't even know like all the penalties you could have on offense. It feels like that's what the Broncos had tonight. But somehow they pull off a win, I guess, in Buffalo. But yeah, just like I don't even know how they were. It was 24-22. It felt like way less points were scored than that. Honestly, like it felt like such a long game. I'm trying to look up how many um penalties they had really quick, but um well anyway, this game really boils down to I guess two things, right? Josh Allen and the Bills continue to turn the ball over. I believe they had what, four tonight? I think Josh Allen was responsible for, was it three of them? Because he had
He
two
had
picks
two picks.
and one
Did he have a fumble?
fumble, I believe. Well, if it wasn't him, someone else fumbled. Um,
Oh yeah, he did lose one. That's right. Josh Allen
oh,
lost one.
it was on the handoff,
Right.
right? At the end of the game. So just like the same story that's been killing him all year, and really throughout his career, taking out last year. But I mean, the turnovers have just been killing the Bills. And honestly, Matt, I think we kind of jumped the gun putting them in our top 10 teams because this does not look like a top 10 team right now. Um,
They were a top 10 team as of last week.
yeah,
I'll say that.
they have
They're
officially
not on my
fallen
list
out.
now.
Yeah, they have officially fallen out of the top 10 for sure. But I want to get to the Bills first because such a strong case for a Super Bowl contender going into the year after the year they had last year, right? But now they're sitting at 5-5 in the AFC. The AFC is tough. We got, I believe, three teams at least with 6 wins up in the North. The Bengals are 5-4. Um, then you look to the East, you know, Bills are 5-5. I believe the Jets are 4-5, if I'm not
Four and
mistaken.
five. Yeah.
So I mean, they're still kind of in the hunt. There's a lot of 4-5 teams. I think the Raiders now, the Chargers. So I don't like. I'm gonna just read off this Bills schedule, and you tell me. Let's say 10 wins is the magic number, right? We've kind of been alluding to that. 10 wins in the AFC. That's target goal. You might not even get in with 10 at this rate, but let's say you're shooting for 10, right? Like where do they find 5 more wins in this schedule? So they get the Jets again, but then they have to go at the Eagles, at the Chiefs, then they get the Cowboys at home, They have to go to LA, play the Chargers. Then they get the Patriots, and then they have to go to Miami to close out the year. So already I'm looking at Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Dolphins, Chargers. That's probably going to be a shootout of a game, but that one I could see going either way at this point. And the Jets, who've been playing everyone tough, like if they can just score 15 points, I guess it's like they have a chance,
If they
honestly.
score one touchdown, they have a chance
Yeah.
at this point.
So I mean the Jets are gonna be tough. Like, where do those 5 wins come from? Like with how they've been playing now and turning the ball over. Honestly, Matt, I think it's actually more likely now they miss the playoffs than they make the playoffs. Um,
Oh, definitely. Especially with
but
the AFC all bunched up. The tiebreakers kick in, you don't want to get into that. So that's a
so
huge, huge thing to deal with.
but just to kind of recap the Bills so far, Matt, through 10 games, is it Josh Allen? Because he's still putting up, crazy numbers, completing over 70% of his passes. I mean, what, 18, I believe, touchdowns through the air. He still does it with his legs. But he does turn the ball over. He's now leading the league in interceptions, has the most turnovers in the league. But are we putting it all on Josh Allen? Is it you know, dare I say the coaching now could be coming into question? I mean, just look at how the game ended tonight, where essentially, and we can talk about this really quick, but that last sequence, I wanted to get your opinion on, where the Broncos decide to, on third down, 25 seconds left, they don't just go out and kick the field goal. They, really want to leave zero time left. And to me, I guess the fact that they pulled it off earlier in the game, gave me some confidence, or reason to believe that they could do it. But if they didn't do that, like it doesn't make any sense to me to risk, running that operation in that moment of the game with the game on the line. Like just go out there, take your time, execute a clean operation in the Buffalo wind that's like swirling around, they said. So I don't know. I don't personally, I didn't agree in that moment with that decision by Sean Payton to have Russ run, take the knee really fast, and then rush your guys out onto the field. Maybe that's the way they decide to go with it. Personally, I would have rather taken the points and okay, whatever. Josh Allen has to 20 seconds, no timeouts. If he gets into field goal range, if he goes 40 yards, 30, 35 yards to get into range on our defense, okay, so be it. you know. But to me, that I don't know. I did not like that decision and should have, in theory, not worked because Will Lutz misses the kick, but Buffalo has 12 guys on the field. So it kind of, to me, I was thinking like one coaching blunder topped another coaching blunder, kind of built like the 12 man. That's that can't happen in that situation, right? Um, and that kind of overruled the Will Lutz miss kick, and of course he hits the next one perfect, to walk off for Denver. But I don't know. I just wanted to get your take on that situation because when I saw them running it, I was like, "You have no timeouts. You're really gonna do this again with the game on the line?" Like it's different when you're earlier in the game, but you need these points or you lose.
This
It's
is
not like
make
the
or
game was
break.
tied. If the game was tied, right? Okay, you get it, right? Just like in basketball, tie game, you want to have the last shot no matter what. But it's not like that. Like you need to get the best opportunity to get points on the board now. So that's just how I felt. I wanted to get your take on
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point. I mean, I agree with what you said. If it was me, I would have kicked the field goal on third down with what 22 seconds left. And you could already tell, it was a little chaotic just because, there's like what 22 guys scrambling in and out on the field for the Broncos. And I kind of noticed, I don't know if you saw like how kickers like they set up like they go walk to the ball or they walk to the long snapper and then the holder and they take their steps back, like 3 steps back to the left, kind of breathe a little bit, and then they do the whole operation. But Will Lutz kind of was like frantically like, oh shit, I gotta go stand here. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, go kick. Like you could already tell, like, oh, that he didn't have like enough time to gather himself because the clock was ticking. It was 7, 6, 5. So I was like, oh, this is not very good. Like Lutz is just kind of just he just kind of just stood in a spot and then okay, well, here I am. Just whatever happens, happens. So and sure enough, he misses the kick, right? So that's the kind of thing. It's like you don't want to put your kicker in a tough spot like that. And Buffalo, the win, right? You just said it. Why you make it that much harder for him? And truthfully, okay, you kick the field goal with 20 seconds. The Bills have no timeouts. So if you give up a chance to even have them kick a field goal, you deserve to lose, honestly, because you just need to tackle them once in the field of play and you win the game. You defend the sidelines, tackle them, let them gain a 20-yard play over the middle of the field, tackle them, and you win. Like, is it really that hard? Like, and with the way your defense has been playing, Josh Allen, rough game, right? So it's not like he was cooking like how, Mr. Mahomes was in that AFC playoff where he got down the field in 13 seconds, right? So putting everything in the context, like the risk reward, take the points, let your kicker set up properly so he can best make the field goal. And then you just make one tackle inbounds and win the game. So yeah, Sean Payton, he definitely got away with that one because the Bills can't really count how many guys they're supposed to have on the field. So yeah, kind of an ugly coaching performance by both guys. So I don't know. Sean McDermott really is the guy who should be watching out because I don't know. I think he might be on the hot seat. Maybe the whole AFC East, except for Mike McDaniels, might be on the hot seat at this point because it looks pretty bad in Buffalo right now with the decisions being made.
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt. And yeah, honestly, that's a good transition. We can get into a legendary coach who we never thought we would see the downfall of, but I think it's inevitable that the downfall is finally here. Um, that's Bill Belichick. Like, who could have possibly thought that, like, at this point, um, I don't know, is it time? Like, is it the end of an era for Bill? Like, they took probably one of the worst losses possible. Like, in that situation, we can go through, everything, but um the two picks, I thought I don't even I can't even defend. Like, I don't care how big of a Mac Jones fan you are, or you know, you can defend they don't have weapons, right? Okay, I get it. Like, they don't have weapons. They don't have um, the same kind of play calling maybe that was once so successful in New England, with Brady there. But I mean, I don't even understand the pick he had in the red zone. I don't know if you saw that one, Matt. I don't know if that's the one that got him benched, but it could have been. He basically just floats it off his back foot, um, not even close to hitting his guy in stride. I I mean, he hasn't had a great year all year. We've known this, but to me, the thing that now it's like maybe it's time for a change in New England is okay. Understandably, Mac Jones has had a rough year, had a rough game. You're upset with him. You're gonna pull him for Bailey Zappi with 2 minutes left, in a winnable game. Like Billy Zappi, who what they said hadn't played in 5 weeks, something like that. So I don't know. I just like what is the thought process there? You know, it's different from pulling a guy at the start of a quarter or halftime, something like that. But 2 minutes, so that means what that tells me. That tells me you have zero faith in Mac Jones at this point, right? Because even if you have the slightest belief in him, you're going to leave him in because you believe he can get the job done in the crucial moment. As rough as, all quarterbacks have bad games, right? but sometimes you got to win ugly in the NFL. Sometimes you just need one drive all day. Say you have 8 drives, 8 possessions in a game, right? Football is a team sport. Maybe your defense plays lights out. Sometimes all you need is that one drive. And to me, pulling Mac Jones in that situation just says like it's like zero faith. And to top it all off, how the game ended with the fake spike, I don't even is Bailey Zappi practicing fake spikes? Or is that what he's doing? Even if that's your play, like has he been practicing that with the first team guys? And he's throwing into triple coverage? Like, and then after the game, he's saying, "Oh, I can't say what I want to say." Like, what he's being told to force it at that receiver no matter what, or I don't know. Maybe to me, that's him saying like, "Mr. Kraft told me to tank." Well, I don't know, man. Like, it's so
Well,
odd,
Mr.
like
Kraft,
seeing
I'll
that.
I'll say one thing on that point. There was a clip on Twitter that showed Robert Kraft telling Bill Belichick, "We need to win this game." So there was a lot of pressure put on by Mr. Kraft to Bill Belichick to win this game at all costs, basically. So I don't think it was Robert Kraft told him the tank thing. Maybe it was on his own. Like honestly, like there's no explanation for that because why would a coach tell a guy who you just said coming in fresh with the game on the line to do that? You do that with a veteran quarterback that you trust completely. And the Patriots obviously do not trust any quarterback on their roster because Mac, is this the third time he got benched in the season? So,
Yeah, it's either the second or third time.
yeah, so no franchise quarterback gets benched no matter how poorly they play, unless it's a blowout. So, that's all you need to know to me about Mac Jones. They have no faith in him. And if it was him or if I was in his shoes, I would lose all my confidence
Oh yeah.
because it's like if you're gonna bench me at this point, just bench me, like I'm walking on eggshells every time I go on the field. And if I make one bad mistake, I'm out. So it's hard to play quarterback, especially, but any sport that you play, if you're fighting for your life as in a position, you don't have that, you know, support from your coach, it's hard to perform at a high level. So I think that falls on Belichick, obviously, because you got to give the kid confidence. And if you take that away from him, just leave it. Maybe just go with Bailey Zappi. Say Bailey Zappi is gonna start the game, if anything. I don't know. Don't put him in that situation. So you basically just ruined two quarterbacks' confidence in one game. Like that's pretty impressive. And to answer the real question about Belichick, I think it's time. I think it's time.
Well, the discussion definitely needs to be had within that front office. As hard as it is, he had a legendary run, but the proof is on the paper at this point. Like, I just haven't seen that kind of incompetency from New England in my entire lifetime, in either of our entire lifetimes.
Yeah.
Honestly, like watching football, you know, even when Brady was hurt, that year he got hurt, right? The Matt
Yeah, they
Castle
had
year.
Matt Castle. He had 10 wins, I think, right?
Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs, but yeah, they had 10 wins. I remember that.
And Jimmy
Even
G.
yeah, even look to Mac Jones's rookie year. Like Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler, but what happened? Like I'm starting to feel bad for Mac Jones. I don't even like Mac Jones, but even I'm starting to feel a little bit bad for him because I think at this point it's worse than what Brian Flores was doing to Tua, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, because at least you could see some of the juice that Fitzpatrick gave him. He was also the starter at the beginning of the year. That was a whole debacle. It's honestly like reminding me a little bit of the Hawaii situation that was there before. Is it gonna be Cole McDonald or are we going with Chevin? Like what?
Hmm.
Who's playing? like, and what do we always say?
chillin.
You can't have what, Matt? Two quarterbacks.
If you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
Exactly. And we have talked about that multiple times. And when has it ever turned out like, oh yeah, two quarterbacks is a great idea? You know, like I don't know. That locker room is divided. I guarantee it. Um, but it's so hard to question Belichick because of the track record he's had. But he definitely finishes out the year. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But might we start getting time to look towards the future in New England? Because like even go back to the draft picks. Um, one has a Bill Belichick wide receiver that he's drafted panned out first round to the late rounds. Like it's there's not a long list. You want Edelman, okay? Is that the last great receiver he drafted? Gronk was a tight end, so if you want to include him, all right, fine. But actually, no, he didn't even draft Edelman because Edelman was a free agent. Actually, he was in Miami first, so that doesn't count. Like it's time. It's like catching up to him. So I don't know. I think
Chris Hogan.
yeah, someone like that. I honestly couldn't even name it.
Maybe
Um,
Dion Branch, but that's
I
like 90s,
no, that's a long
early
time
two.
ago. Yeah, I mean it's been rough. Um, but yeah, let's stick on the AFC here, and we have to talk about the guy that is proving us both wrong at this point because we thought Bryce Young was going to be the star, and I'm not saying it's Bryce Young's fault, but he hasn't had a great rookie year. I don't think it is his fault because of the cast he has around him and what's going on in Carolina. But we have to talk about CJ Stroud and how he's playing, especially as of late. These past two games, game-winning drives, and to do it against the Bengals, who I just talked about last week being like the hottest team, and they're in my top five because they're rolling. To do it against the Bengals at in Cincinnati like that after throwing a huge pick, by the way, that probably should have lost you the game. I don't know. I've had nothing but good things to say about CJ Stroud at this point in his rookie year. He doesn't even play like a rookie. Like he has a good arm, good to like exceptional arm. Um, just seems poised, but the throws he makes are tough throws. Like honestly, he's fitting it into windows. He's throwing guys open and making the right reads at the right times. Also helps they finally had a running game for once. And I don't know. It might be time to start talking about CJ Stroud. I'm hearing the MVP conversations. I don't know if he's quite there yet, but maybe we need to start talking about who is he a top five quarterback? I don't know. But we can talk about that right now since we're on the quarterback topic. We're 10, what is this? Week 10. So we're 10 weeks into the season. Um, gonna give each of our top five quarterbacks, I believe, at this point. So I don't know, Matt. Why don't you start us off? Because I'm not gonna lie, my list is tight. I don't even like it. I've even if like a top 10, I'd be okay. But a top five is tough for me right now. So I really want to hear your list because I had a hard time with mine.
Yeah, it's a tough list for me, but I'll I made my list kind of based off how they're playing this year, but also putting things into context, right? Like, we kind of know who the top guys are for the most part throughout their careers, how they are now. So maybe they're not having the best statistical year to this point, but we know they're upper echelon QB in this league. So it's a kind of a mix of both. But there there's no right answer. Let me put it this way. So it's really opinion at this point. But at least for this year, at this point of the season, I'll say number five is Mr. CJ Stroud, putting into context that his team was complete garbage last year. uh, he has no run game for the most part. He just beat a top five quarterback, you could say, in the league in Joe Burrow on the road. So yeah, he's a rookie. He's gonna win Rookie of the Year at this point if he stays healthy. I think we've kind of seen the flashes of he's maybe taking that leap to be top 10 overall QB in the league, possibly by the end of the season. So at this point, though, CJ Stroud definitely top five this season. Number four, I'll go with your boy, Tua. Um, it helps that he has Tyreek, but there really isn't too many questions, I would say, about, oh, can Tua do this? Can Tua do that? Can he make this throw? I think I mean, I'm a Tua skeptic, for the most part too sometimes, but I can't argue some of the throws that he makes this year. I mean, he's made some pretty big time throws, so the numbers have the backup and the evidence to say that he's been playing really well this year. So I got Tua at four. Number three, I'm going to have my quarterback, Mr. Dak Prescott, who should be in the MVP discussion
Wow.
at this point. Yeah, I'm talking this season, kind of just how he's playing. I think he's playing really well. Um, 6-3 is no fluke at this point. Yes, they haven't beaten a quote unquote good team, but the numbers don't lie. Dak has been playing well over the past few weeks. At this point in time, that's where I got him. Number two and number one, it's kind of let's take a step back. We know who these guys are, but it's hard for me to argue against Jalen Hurts at number two because of the record. They're the best team in the league at this point of the season. The only downside for Jalen Hurts, the interceptions are up, but I still think outside of that Jets game, he's been pretty flawless in terms of throwing the football. Again, it helps to have a top three receiver in the league in AJ Brown, but his playmaking ability, second to none, I think, with his legs. So I'll have Jalen Hurts at two. And then number one, it's kind of just a default answer for me, Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the league. I'm not going to debate that. The numbers are down, but I look at his receiving core. Probably you could argue the worst receiving core based off of the quarterbacks on my list because Travis Kelce was hurt for a game. He's still a top tier player in this league, but he's getting older, slowing down just a little bit, maybe. But I just think with his ability to make plays and for them to just be 7-2 with that receiving core is just impressive. So I don't even know if any other quarterback could do that at that point. So that's my list. It's not perfect, but kind of just a gut feeling of how guys are playing. There were guys that were close, I would say. Jared Goff was close. Joe Burrow was close. I think Joe Burrow just started a little too slow for me, but that's my list. So let's see what you got.
Oh,
Let's
this
see
is
what you got.
so hard, man. Like I'm
Because I
serious.
I
I
struggled.
have
No, it was hard. This was hard.
because I like I okay, let me just count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have like 9 or 10 guys that I'm trying to narrow down to five, and it's so tough. But so I same with you. I don't have Josh Allen. Too many turnovers this year. That's cost them games. And really, without a couple, one missed call, they should be like 4-6. The Giants won. Even the Hail Mary, like they could only have 3 wins this year. So Josh Allen's out for me. Joe Burrow, as well as he has played of late, since we're doing a whole season review, and it's not even his fault. Like I think if he has a good calf for those first 3 games, they have a much better record. But he was just banged up, so I'm just not including him. I guess due to injury at this point, not of any fault of his own. So with that, um, man, this is a tough list, but I'm gonna have to go at number five so far. Um, I have Tua at number five.
Wow, I have him higher than you.
It's tough.
That's crazy.
It's it's a really tough list. I mean, I could go, okay, I'll say 5-4. I'll go either way, right? So, um, the two, I'm kind of looking at the losses at this point, right? So for Tua, in those three losses, the first one, the Bills one, they got boat race. Defense didn't play good though. Um, could they had to keep up with the Bills at that point, who were still hot, still had a lot of their players healthy at that point. Um, that was a bad loss. The other two, the Eagles one and um, this most recent one against the Chiefs. Like you got to make that play against the Chiefs, right? I'm sorry, like I love you, Tua, but you got to catch the ball and you got to be on the same page when it counts. So could I have him higher? Yeah, but right now, that's just where I have um I have Tua right now. Number four, this is close. I have Dak in number four actually. Um,
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to argue. Like you said, the stats look good at this point, but even the three losses, right? So he has the worst one was the Niners game, I think, no doubt about that. Cardinals, that's a typical Cowboy lay an egg game, but you really can't have that one either. But the Eagles one to me is the one I wouldn't even I can't put that on Dak. Like he had a good, you could argue, great game in that one. And just inches away multiple times, from beating the Eagles in that one. Right. So I mean he's played well. They could easily be, 6-2 right now, or sorry, 7-2. 7-2 right now. And looking really good. But I think he's played his best football as of late or so far this year. So I have to put him in number four. And number three, oh man, this I like it's so tough for me. Um,
There's no wrong answer.
I know there's no wrong answer, but I'm gonna put Mahomes at three. Okay. Um, you know, like you said, doesn't have the weapons. Um, but they're winning a lot because of their defense. I just can't make a top five list without Patrick Mahomes. Like as
I mean,
this,
yeah,
even if the stats aren't there, whatever it is, um, he's still a top five quarterback to me, and I still would want him with the ball over any QB in the league if I had to go get one game winning drive over Joe Burrow, you know, over Jalen Hurts even. But like, even though the stats aren't there and the full body of work isn't there, I still gotta have him in my top five. That's why I have him at three. At two, I'm gonna go Jalen Hurts. At two because, like you said, the record speaks for itself. I still think Jalen is turning the ball over way too much, and it does help to have AJ Brown, there with you. But like his legs have to be taken into account every single game, and like honestly, he finds a way to win games, which is so hard to do in the NFL, and it's really scary because they haven't even really played their best football yet, I think. I don't think their defense, their secondary is as lethal as it once was, but um, he just finds a way to get it done. And you're 8-1 in the NFC, and they've played some quality teams as well. So like I just have to give the nod to Jalen Hurts at number two. But my number one, who you didn't even have on here, is Lamar. Like Lamar has been,
I
I
don't.
think, he has
Hmm.
been the best quarterback in the league. So here's what I'll say about Lamar, right? I think the Browns defense is the best defense in the entire NFL. Like they had one, you know, tough one against the Colts, weird one, I guess you could say, but outside of that, I think the Browns um I mean they play everyone super tough, I think. And as of late, they've kind of figured it out. Um So I'm gonna give Lamar a little bit of a pass because it was a divisional game and he played the Browns. But before that, he's dicing everyone. Like 37-3 against Seattle, who's a good team, I think. They diced the Lions right when the Lions were in, hot, 38-6. Um, and Odell, he hasn't done a ton. Zay Flowers hasn't been, spectacular. Their running back situation is still a committee, but to me, I think it's got to be Lamar, who's been number one so far. Um, he's back to the old Lamar, and I think he's showing a lot of teams why they should have paid him. So I got him at number one because I think he's doing the most with the least. Like I think other than Patrick Mahomes, I think he has like the second, not worst, but doesn't have quite the receiving core as the other quarterbacks that I've listed so far, and he's still making it happen. In a really tough AFC to be 7-3, honestly should be 8-2 because the Colts game I remember didn't get a pass interference call there, so I think they should be 8-2. Um, you could even argue 9-1 with the Browns one, but if the defense holds up there at the end, but it is what it is. I think it's Lamar because I think he's doing the most with not the least, but doing the most with what he has. And so that's what I kind of account to being a good quarterback. So
Hmm.
that's just why I have Lamar at number one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have him off for those reasons. Or like other reasons because I think he doesn't have a lot of touchdowns, right? Because I think the run game, it was kind of shocking. You lose Dobbins, but you kind of see the emergence of Gus Edwards, Mitchell coming onto the scene now. So kind of taking off a little bit of, you know, that for him, that stress, I think. Um, but yeah, I think he has like 10 touchdowns on the year. And he's tied with Mac Jones in that category. So if you're tied with Mac Jones in that category, that's it's not a good thing to be on. Let me say that. But look, I think the turnovers for Lamar are the thing that kind of turned me off at this point. I know the progression he's made as a passer. He's definitely improved night and day since he got into this league. But I think, like what you said about Jalen Hurts, I think Lamar's turning the ball over way too much. And that's hard to trust. And I saw it. Maybe I'm a victim of the moment, but he had some really bad turnovers against the Browns. Pick six, right? The fumbles. I think he had two picks, right? Against the Browns. So just very sloppy with the ball, I think. So if he takes care of the ball more, I think he would make my top five. But yeah, that's the reason why I left Lamar off my list at this point is the lack of touchdowns. You're tied with Mac Jones for a category. It's not a good thing. Turnovers. Turnovers are a killer in this situation for me. So that's my logic.
That's fair. I mean, and like you said, I had Goff right there. CJ Stroud, I think, was my number six. Then I had Goff. And it's so hard to like rate these guys though, because it's like, okay, it's it. Who do I want for a game-winning drive, or who am I gonna trust, or who do I want just based on this year alone? Because if it's just based on stats on this year alone, like is Mahomes even on there? But are you gonna have a top five list without Mahomes? Is that even realistic? Like it
Hey,
was a
that's why we do these lists, man. We can just it's
yeah,
your
it's
opinion,
hard.
man.
It's hard.
It's a
Um,
fluid list every week. Let's put it that way.
yeah, yeah. But Dak, Tua, Mahomes, hurts Lamar. I think that's my list for week as of week 10, and just those are my reasons because I think winning does matter, but also it's not always on the quarterback. Anyway, I think that's good on football. We can or the NFL. We can wrap there. Um, why don't we take a quick pause, real quick, get some water, or whatever. But yeah, we'll pause and then we'll come back with some good news on yeah our college team. So hold on, we'll be right back. Okay, so enough with the NFL talk, but we have to get to the surprising news of our weekend, which was UH football gets a win against Air Force somehow. I don't know how they were able to pull it off, but we did. I don't even like
I'm still in
When you
shock.
talk about
It's been 2
zero
days.
expectation to win a game, like I had as close to zero faith in them to win. You know, even the Georgia game when we played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, I mean, we were undefeated, so I had obviously hope, but like the Michigan game earlier, or last year, I should say, the Oregon game this year, I had the same amount of faith in UH winning this past weekend as I did in them winning those other two games. So let's just get into the stats because I don't think either of us watched it because we didn't think we are gonna win. So I didn't want to see that beating or what I thought would be a beating. But really the key here, looking just at the stats, I didn't watch the game, but our defense showed up, Matt. I like can't believe it. They forced, I believe, how many turnovers did they
They
force?
had four
Four,
turnovers.
four total turnovers forced, and they got it when it counted. Um, at the end of the game, one of them we took to the house, I believe,
Yeah,
fumbled,
fumble
returned for a
return.
touchdown, and then three straight defensive series that end in interceptions to close out the game and upset Air Force. So I don't even know. Like, I'm so shocked. I don't even know where to start. But I guess we should give props to the defense first, right? They bought out Peter Manuma, I believe, was a Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Week. He had a good game. Let me just count. 12 tackles. I think he had one of the picks, right? Yeah, 12 tackles and a pick. Like overall, really good stuff that you want to see. And he was kind of a guy that we were on the lookout for at the beginning of the year. Hadn't had a great year, but really showed up here against Air Force. Um, and I mean, just looking at the stats overall, not terrible. I mean, you still see the 200, yards that they got on the ground, but 47 carries. So these were kind of making them work for it a little bit there, right? And the hilarious stat to me though is they went 3 for 9 passing the ball, like
Hey,
three
it's Air
for nine.
Force, man.
I know it's
They
Air
don't know how to
Force,
pass.
but like 3 and 9 is just like hilariously bad. And one of the quarterbacks, he only threw two passes, and they both got picked. So I don't know. I just a complete shocker of a game. I was joking that, oh, we win this game, our bowl chances are still alive, but our bowl chances are still alive. I don't know if Wyoming is that good. I don't know anything about them, but I thought Air Force was going to be the toughest out of, our last three games. Maybe we still have a chance because I think Wyoming is the second toughest. So I'm still not getting my hopes up there, but hey, if we beat Wyoming, maybe we have a chance at Colorado State. And then we go bowling. But I'm not gonna hold out hope too much. I don't want to get my hopes up too much. But like I texted you, Matt, this is hands down the biggest game for Timmy Chang and his career to continue being the UH head coach. I don't know. This win definitely bought him through the rest of this year. I don't care what happens, now the rest of the two games. And definitely going into next year who have that job. I think solely based off this win because like how they looked in the San Jose State game, I was like punt the season, you know, let's do our best to recruit guys with whatever we can and just pray something changes in the off season. But the win against Nevada was nice, but we definitely needed to beat that team. They did not look like a good team overall. But the Air Force win, with how our defense played, especially down the stretch, like you have to be happy with that performance. And I'm now sold, Matt. I think, it's only one game, but I'm sold that the players were bought in. I didn't know we're not in the locker rooms. You lose kind of your defensive captain on the field. He's still around the team, Logan Taylor, right? He's still on the sidelines, very, adamant, supporting his teammates however he can. So what he was going to bring. But the fact that, with how the season has gone so far, for UH to put up that kind of performance at home, in front of the fans, to me that says they still were fighting and still playing for Timmy, right? With the Graham situation a couple years ago, we kind of saw the quit, right? We saw some of the like just, oh, we're down, it's over, kind of just lack of effort. But to Timmy's credit, these guys they haven't been good, but they're trying, right? They've been playing hard all year. Okay, maybe you can say the San Jose State game, late in the game, they kind of wrote it
They
off.
quit that
They
game.
quit. They
They
quit,
definitely
right?
quit.
So they definitely quit. And that's, like I said, I was starting to question, okay, are you going to lose the locker room? But after this one, I think it's pretty evident he got the guys to believe somehow since that game. And that's really just what you want to see as a positive moving forward. It gives us something to build on, something. The culture is still, the brotherhood is still there, right? We still have some faith, and the season still isn't over. So that's honestly the best part. Like looking at it now, we still have a chance, and I would say we got the hardest task out of the way. But anytime you play at Wyoming, in November with the Hawaii boys, yeah, it's gonna be a rough one. I know that one time we played Josh Allen pretty tough up there, but it's hard for us to travel for the what is the bowl? What is our the is it the Paniolo Cup or something like that?
I think so.
Um,
Yeah. How many
but
trophies we gotta try to win this year?
I don't know.
UNLV, Air Force. There's a lot.
Yeah, but that was just my takeaway, Matt. I mean, the offense did its thing. Braden Shager using his legs a lot more. I guess that's kind of another takeaway about this game. But I mean, he threw two to Ashlock, who's been our stud receiver all year. I heard Stephen McBride had an insane catch as well.
Yeah, he did.
So,
Toe
like,
tapper.
yeah, so good. I mean, the offense, we know what the offense is, but good to see the defense show up and do their thing. I don't know, Matt. What is your takeaway feeling going into these last two games of the season?
Well, I'm still in shock from Saturday. I cannot believe we're even having this discussion that they actually beat Air Force because there's no way in hell I would have thought they would have won. If I was in Vegas, I would have put money on Air Force to cover the spread and more. I would have doubled down on that one or something. But I mean, give credit. You got to give credit to Timmy Chang. Um, 2 weeks ago, I was on this pod saying if he doesn't win another game this season, he should not even make it to next year because that shows regression from last year. And ever since I said that, he's 2-0. So, I got to eat crow yet again on that. But as far as this game, I thought it was important and kind of an interesting stat that Hawaii, they get the ball first to start the game. They go right down the field, 12 plays, punch it in the end zone. That was their first opening drive touchdown of the season. And this is what game is this? Game
11.
number 11. So we're finally in the end zone first after 11 games. But if you put that into context, Air Force is obviously they lead the league in rushing. They don't pass. So if you make them play from behind, you take them out of their game. So I thought just the fact that they scored first, they punched first, Air Force is down. And yeah, it's not, in the third, fourth quarter, but, you're still playing from behind. And for a running team like this, you never want to be in that situation. So I think that just puts the pressure on the military academy schools if you fall behind, especially by 2 scores. And they did get it to 2 scores because Hawaii scored a touchdown late in the first half. So, going into that late third, early fourth quarter, Air Force is down. They're kind of like, okay, we gotta hurry up because we can't just run the ball. They had the ball the entire second quarter. They had like a 19 play drive, took up like over 10 minutes
It
of
was
clock. So they
an
had
11-minute,
it was like
49
something
second.
ridiculous. Yeah, like they had the ball basically the entire second quarter. So it's like you obviously can't do that if you're down 2, 3 scores going late into the game. And I believe their quarterback got hurt. So okay, whatever, he got hurt. But they were forced to pass, and credit to Hawaii, they took advantage of that and they forced turnovers. And what do we say with our NFL teams, right? You win the turnover battle, good things will happen. And sure enough, Braden Shager, clean slate as in the quarterback position, right? That's beautiful. It's what you want to see. The offense, I don't think it was spectacular, to be honest. But just the fact that they got ahead fast and they used that to your advantage, that to me was the story of the game. Because if you're playing from behind, you're kind of cooked, especially against Air Force, because they're just going to run out the clock. So good to see Hawaii start fast, I think, in this game. That was a huge, huge thing for me. And, going on Shager, I was watching I was listening to the game because I was watching, the Ducks play on TV, the better team. But I was watching the replay and, I saw Shager, he had a couple nice runs. He got a quarterback sneak, but he was animated. Like he got knocked out of bounds one play and he got up and he was like, right in the face of, the Air Force defenders. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Shager. Like, kind of makes me laugh because it's Braden Shager, but yeah, I like that. My quarterback is, he wants to smoke. That shows like what you said. They're playing for each other. Like the locker room, yeah, the results aren't there all the time, but at least they're playing together and they're playing for each other. And you see that fire in the players. And especially if that comes from your quarterback, that's a good sign. So that was a huge thing for me. If Braden Shager, being the leader of this team, obviously shows that fire. You're going to want to play for him as a quarterback, and you're going to want to play for Timmy Chang as a coach that supports that. So, they need to carry this momentum. Obviously, going into Wyoming, I say this all the time. I don't care if you're the run and shoot, run the ball. Even if that means Braden Shager at this point, he's kind of shown that he can kind of scramble a little bit. But you get Landon Sims, get Najee Bryant the leg, get them touches. Because that's going to make Shager's job a lot easier, especially going into a cold weather place. You don't want to be throwing the ball 50 times. Kind of hard for Hawaii to do that. So simplify the game and then take care of the ball and then just see what happens. Because I promise if UH plays a clean game, they're going to be at least in the game. I'll say that going into Wyoming. So, but hats off to Timmy Chang and the crew. Best win for him by far. I'm kind of a delusional fan at this point. I think I'm kind of like, okay, they're 2 wins away, and they can do it, and they have confidence. So I think that's a huge thing going into Wyoming, but it's going to be a tough task. But great to see this win. This is kind of a good win, to cap off the season regardless. So they can definitely build on this going into the next season going forward. But yeah, UH.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna hold out hope. It's not over yet. The season is still uh we're still playing for something. So hopefully we can still go bowling at the end of the year. And I'd be shocked. But let's move on to your other team, like you already kind of alluded to earlier, the Oregon USC game. I mean, USC is pretty much out of the playoffs at this point. Oregon still, has their playoff bid and I mean they got the job done. So what was your feeling from that game?
Well, this is a great game on paper. I mean, you could argue two best quarterbacks in college football this year. Caleb Williams, reigning Heisman Trophy winner, against this year's Heisman Trophy winner, Bo Nix. But you knew it was going to be a shootout. But my thing was, can the Oregon defense slow down USC enough? Because I knew the Oregon offense was going to put up points. I mean, 77 yards, first touchdown. They come back next drive, 84-yard touchdown. I mean, the USC defense is, by goodness, they're terrible. Like, I don't know, Lincoln Riley, he never learns. Like, you can have all the firepower and offense, but if you can't play defense, to save your life, you're not going to win a championship. And that's literally why USC is 7-4. It's because they can't play defense. It's not because they're struggling to score points. And even in this game, Oregon's defense, for the most part, is a top tier defense in the Pac 12. So Caleb Williams, his stat line, not the sexiest, with the touchdowns and stuff, but for his circumstances, he was under duress a lot in this game. He had a pretty good game, and that's why he's probably going to be the number one pick in the draft next year in the NFL. But this was about Oregon defense to start, and the offense was just humming along. But then, the only thing that really concerned me was late in the game. Oregon's winning by multiple scores, but when you're winning by multiple scores, the one thing that I don't want my team to do is to give up chunk plays, getting beat over the top, big game plays that just move the offense down the field and then allows you to score quick. But that's what Oregon's defense did, and that was a little disturbing to me. USC scored way too easily late in the game. And then Oregon, they come down, they get the ball. They kick a field goal. Camden Lewis completely shanks it. I mean, he's a senior kicker. You cannot be missing like that. I'm sorry, but there's no excuse. That's kind of like our weak link right now is the special teams. So that needs to be addressed quickly. But the defense cannot allow those big plays, especially going into these next couple of games coming up. But yeah, we got Arizona State next weekend. Tough matchup because our old OC is now the head coach and Kenny Dillingham. So he knows Dan Lanning, he knows Oregon, right? It's going to be a tough system, but you got to out execute ASU, who played USC tough, who played UW tough. They held UW to 15 points in Washington. So they're capable of putting up a stinker in this season. So you can't take them lightly. And, you just got to ride number 10, Bo Nix. This dude is unreal. I mean, after this performance, he outduels Caleb Williams. How do you not have him as the Heisman favorite at this point? Michael Penix has been kind of faltering a little bit. Ever since that Oregon game, teams have kind of figured out Washington to some degree outside of USC because they can't play defense. But they're taking away the big plays. Penix hasn't. He's still great, but not the same as what it was before. So Caleb Williams obviously is out of the race. Jaden Daniels, yeah, had a big game, but LSU's not winning to what they're supposed to be. So Bo Nix, man, if he wins out, I don't know how you not have this guy as your Heisman Trophy winner. So hopefully he can join Mr. Mariota as the Heisman Trophy winning guys in Eugene. But they got 2 games to go and they gotta take care of business because it's right in front of them. They control their own destiny. So let's bring on ASU next week and just pray that they avoid the upset in this one, and that sets up the big civil war that I want to see for the last time. So good win against USC, but time to move forward and on to the next one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Jaden Daniels is a case, but we'll see.
He has the
If you want to
numbers,
just
but
talk
it's
about
hard to
numbers,
put up. Yeah.
um, anyway, we can talk about that as the season ends. But I see you have Hawaii basketball in here because we finally
Yep.
start up pretty soon.
We start tomorrow.
Oh, start
Tomorrow's
tomorrow.
first game.
Against UH Hilo. Always a nice little tune-up game there. But um, I don't know, Matt. It's what should I expect? I haven't followed the off season. We don't have Hunter on, like we usually do with our UH Sports Talk. But what do I look forward to as a fan, as a casual fan, I guess you could say? Um, who are the returning starters? Like, do we get any transfers? How are we looking?
Well, I think it's kind of similar to last year's vibe where it's like they have key returning guys that you're confident enough that this team, if they play well, they're good enough to win the Big West. But it is UH. So it's like, you kind of temper those expectations. So I think UH was predicted to finish third in the conference, which is not bad, honestly, because Santa Barbara, obviously defending champs, they return AJ Mitchell, who's their best player, and then a lot of their starters. So they're kind of the hands on, easily the favorite to win the conference. But the fact that UH is third gives me some false hope that, yeah, maybe they can pull off an upset against them. But, they got veteran leadership. Javon is back senior year. Noel Coleman's back. So you got your starting backcourt back for their senior year, which is huge because I always believe to win in March, got to have senior guards. And we got two of them. So that's a good plus. You got Bernardo da Silva. So you got three seniors. A couple transfers to point out. Justin McCoy was kind of the big one. He came over from North Carolina, of all places. But he's coming in the transfer portal this year. We got Akira Jacobs from Japan. I don't know, it could have been Hayato, but we got Akira Jacobs instead. And I believe there was another guy, Matthew Cotton was another recruit. He was kind of committed early on from last year, but he comes over from Yale, who I believe made the tournament 2 years ago, last year, 2 years ago. So NCAA tournament experience. So I like that we're bringing in experienced transfers, two out of the three at least. But you got guys like Harry Dev returning. Juan Munoz is coming back because of his injury last year. So he's kind of the backup point guard to Jovan this year. Ryan Rapp is coming back. So there's a lot of returning pieces and familiarity. Cody Williams, another one. So Morsek, I totally forgot about him. How did I not mention that? But there's a lot of pieces. And, if I'm UH, like they got Javon, Noel, Bernardo. That's three guys that you can probably say should be starting the season. The rest of the two, I don't know who's going to start, to be honest. In the exhibition against St. Mary, they had Harry, Ruliadev, and Ryan Rapp as starters. Hard to say if that's going to be the case. I could see Ruliadev possibly starting just because of the familiarity, but I still would like to see Justin McCoy just based off of raw talent. I mean, I think he can shoot the three. He's not going to be Kamaka Hepa from three, but he can stretch the floor. He's a lot bigger than Kamaka Hepa, muscular wise. So I'm looking to see him possibly, hopefully, have a huge role in this team. But, the big thing is it's always going to come down to Ganot to me. And I get frustrated with Aran Ganot sometimes because he's been with UH. Can you believe that? We were in high school when he first started coaching UH. It was our senior year of high school. I remember that was the year they went to the tournament and when he took over for Benji Taylor. But it's 9 years. This is his ninth year as the head coach. And yes, he did go to the tournament. He won a game in the tournament, but he won with Gib Arnold's players. And you've had 8 years, you could say, after that to build the type of team that you want with your players, with your play style. And ever since that year, we have gone nowhere. We've had great regular seasons, 20 plus wins multiple times, but we go one and done in the tournament. That's always the thing with UH. They go one and done in March in the Big West tournament. So that to me is what it all comes down to. Like UH, they're going to have a great regular season. I wouldn't be surprised they get 20 wins again in the regular season. They're that good. They got experience. They got youth. I think Morsek, I would expect to have a great sophomore year. So they got all the talent enough to win and compete, but it's about Ganot. It's about Ganot winning in March. And that's, to me, the big storyline of this year is, can Aran Ganot get this team over the hump? Because on paper, they're good enough to win. Maybe not win the Big West tournament, but they definitely should be winning at least one game, and you should be able to get to the championship game if all goes well. Playing UC Santa Barbara for that title. So UH, I don't know. It's a mystery. The starting lineup, we'll see. Ganot's probably going to rotate a lot of guys to start the year, especially through the Diamond Head Classic. I think that's when we'll start seeing the rotation kind of shrinking down a little bit, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait to the Diamond Head starts because they play UP.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'll be at that game. I think you should go to that game. I
I
think
probably should go to that one.
Sakai is going to that game. So I mean, everybody's going to that game. So yeah, that's gonna be a good one. But yeah, UH definitely has the potential, but Ganot might throw a wrench in that plan and get us kicked out in one game in the tournament. So yeah, UH Hilo and Niagara this week, they should win. Let's be honest, they should win. If they don't, especially against UH Hilo, my goodness, you cannot lose against UH Hilo. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I'm excited to see the rotations. I just want to see how that plays out for the first few games.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. Does that mean I have to cheer for UP? Maybe I'll cheer for. Maybe we have.
I already said that I'm gonna wear a UP shirt because it is my alma mater. Gotta show
Yeah,
some support,
I feel like I kind of feel guilty of not cheering them on the past several years,
and
but it's
it's
just
good.
be okay. But the only reason is because it was so rough when we were there. The Tracy Porter years or sorry,
Terry Porter.
Terry Porter years were a little bit rough after such high expectations, right? Um, but maybe I should have been a better alumni at attracting them. So maybe I'll do better at tracking UP sports this year. Um,
Yeah,
I should
and
just
it'll
have
be
it.
nice. It'll be nice to cheer against Jovan for once, Like that would be great. I can heckle him while he shoots free throws. He's
That's
probably gonna
true.
look at us, look at me giving stink eye like he always does in the stands. So
But yeah, maybe I'll cheer for whoever wins that game. I'll will be my team for the season.
that
Home
is
tie,
that is
home
the
ties
ultimate
versus
bandwagon
alumni
move.
ties. Yeah, it's literally being a bandwagon. Um, anyway, let's just get to our last stuff, so we can wrap it up. But basketball talk, we're still early. Not a ton of storylines yet. We know kind of who the good teams are, who the bad teams are. The West is going to be tight. I keep saying. Really quick, just checking on the Lakers. We go as Anthony Davis goes so far this year. If he plays and he plays well, we do pretty good, even without LeBron, as we've seen. I will say the bright spot, and I think he will be the X factor this year, is going to be Cam Reddish. I mean, all the talent,
Shocker.
right, coming out. Um, we know he has the respect amongst his peers, but hasn't been able to quite put it together for an NBA team yet. I don't know if he can, knock down his open shots, which he has the past two games. He is going to be the guy. He's the main reason we won against Phoenix. He had another good game against the Blazers. Because to me, D'Lo is going to be inconsistent. Like he is consistently inconsistent. We know what we're going to get from him. I think Austin should come off the bench, like continue to come off the bench and just be the sixth man. Like he'll get starter minutes, but almost like a Manu esque kind of thing. I'm not saying he's Manu, but like that same situation where you just bring him off the bench and have him get into the game in that sense. I think Rui also needs to play a lot more. We've seen he's been playing well again since coming back from his injuries. So, you know, just hope LeBron can stay healthy for the most part throughout the year. Hope to God Anthony Davis stays healthy throughout the rest of the year. Because also Christian Wood has been giving us good minutes. I like what I've seen from him. For the most part so far. So I think we're gonna be around 500 the whole year, honestly. But I think 500 gets the job done to at least get into the playoffs. So I'm hoping we get in around the 7 or 8 seed to be optimistic, 9, 10 to be less optimistic. So Not concerned yet of the my Lakers. I feel much better about them this year than I did last year. Um, and because of one guy who is now on the other LA team,
Hmm.
and we got to talk about how the Harden trade has impacted the Clippers so far. So, um, since they have traded for James Harden, they have lost two, three, four, what, five straight now. So
0-5 since
they are
James
0 and
Harden
5.
arrived.
I don't, it's too early to say I told you so, but there's only one ball. How many times do I have to say this about teams? Like, to their credit, Dallas has proven me wrong. They're one of the best teams in the league right now with Kyrie and Luca. But at least there's only two of them. There's four guys who need the ball in LA. Like, there's four of them. All their numbers have gone down. They haven't synced up just yet. So I'm not gonna go crazy and it's such a failure, blah blah blah. But you gotta think, right? Like if they're that out of it as the trade deadline comes, they're gonna blow it up again. Like Russ is probably, if you can ship him, I would think he's the first to go, and then James, and then you gotta try to redo it again with Kawhi and Paul George. Um, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if any of those four guys, or honestly, even all four of those guys get traded if it doesn't look like they're making even the play in. So, I mean, it's just not been good. They still haven't figured it out. They got blown out the other game, other day. The the Mavs dropped 144 on them. Like, come on. Um, I don't know, Matt. It doesn't look good. I don't know how it gets better. Like, how does it get better? Like they all have to figure out their role now. And I just don't know how Russ can play off the ball. Like at least Harden can kind of shoot, Paul George can shoot, Kawhi can shoot. We know what Russell Westbrook is as a perimeter shooter. It's not pretty. But what do they do? I don't know. I'm not even a Clippers fan. I hope that it all crumbles, to be honest. But just thinking objectively, like I don't know how they fix it. And who's gonna play defense? I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to think out of the box here, but there's one ball. So what if maybe this is crazy, and I don't think this is even going to happen because I don't think the two players would even allow this with their egos. But is it time for James Harden to come off the bench? Like, do you just say, "Hey, James, like, you're gonna play a lot, like you get starters minutes, but come off the bench, right? Do what Russ did. Him and Russ maybe run the second unit. They can play like how the old days were in OKC and Houston with those two guys. But we've seen what Kawhi and Paul George can do as the two alphas of the team. Let them kind of run the show a little bit. So you're kind of going to ask Harden to sacrifice at this point. But at the same time, I don't believe that's going to happen. James Harden has shown no intentions of sacrificing being a team player. He says he is the system, so he obviously wants the ball in his hands in crunch time. I completely disagree. It should be in the hands of Kawhi Leonard because he is their best player. So it's about Ty Lue. Like he's got to figure out how to fix these, how to mix these four. I wouldn't say divas. They're all not divas, but Harden's a handful, obviously. Russ, you know what you're getting with him, right? Kawhi is a mystery sometimes. We don't know what you're getting from him. So it's about Ty Lue, but I think it's about finding that right rotation, I think. And I think they got to figure out who's getting the ball in crunch time because, I mean, did you see that last shot that Harden took against the Grizzlies? They set up that pick play with Powell, and Harden was in the corner for three, and then he airballed to tie the game. It's like, yeah, as much as, yes, James Harden, you're the guy, but Kawhi Leonard is still the man on this team. Let's play through him. And if they double team him, then sure, take the shot. But I don't know why you're drawing up a play for James Harden to shoot in the corner because his shot is the step back. So unless you give him that, I'm not really trying to draw up a play to him for him to have a catch and shoot three. Like he's not Klay Thompson coming off the screen, but put it that way. So yeah, call me crazy putting James Harden off the bench. I would explore it if I was a coach, but I don't think that's going to happen because I just think James Harden is not going to let that happen with his attitude. So I don't know. I think as a Laker fan, you should be really happy with this trade.
Oh, I'm so happy.
I mean, I still think they're gonna win. I think they'll figure it out
Yeah, they'll
in terms
figure it
of
out.
winning. But I think it's just hilarious. Just this whole situation. It's the Clippers, right? The laughing stock of LA. And then you look at the Sixers. James Harden is gone. They're like
The best team
taking the
in the
best team in the
East,
league. Right? Tyrese
definitely the
Maxey
East,
is
maybe the league.
putting up
Yeah.
50-point games. I mean,
I hope. I always liked Maxi
crazy.
too. I didn't know Harden was holding him back that much.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah.
He
With
just
Harden,
dropped a 50 burger.
he's gonna hold a lot of guys back. And look at that, he's holding his own guys back now. Like PG's numbers are going down, Kawhi's numbers are down. So James Harden, he's like a cancer right now on a team. You do not want that on your team. And it's like Rust. It was like the whole Rust thing with the Lakers. So they got two of the guys that nobody wants on their team.
Yeah. Well, we'll track that as the season goes on. But let's just start to wrap it up here. So the in the MLB, as we know, the World Series ended, but it's winter meetings time. Free agency wise, a lot of talk from Cashman. I
Oh
don't know.
my god,
He's
dude.
talking crazy right now. Um, Taking shots at Giancarlo Stanton's health. Like,
When I saw that, I was like, is
is
this
that
like
a
a
was that a
real?
fake quote, by the way? I didn't want to get baited in, but it seemed pretty real.
No, I
Um,
mean, from what I saw, it was real because Talking Yanks had a post on it. Like it came from Bleacher Report. So I was like, wait, is this real? Like, is
like
this a
one of
real
the
Bleacher?
like bot account or like
Yeah,
fake accounts. Yeah.
yeah. Like I
Um,
thought it was a fake account, but then I saw it on Talking Yanks. Talking Yanks put it on their social media. It's like, oh, geez, like this is this is not good. And this is why, like I said, get this guy needs to go. He needs to go. Like Boone, I understand Boone because the players need to rally around him. If they're supporting him, whatever. I can live with that because I think we can win with Boone. He's not the root of the problem. It's the GM, the guy who put the team together, got all these players that didn't fit. And it's like, okay, you're Cashman says this comment about Stanton. Yeah, he's gonna get hurt. Well, then why the hell did you even trade for him in the first place? Like, you're the one that made the trade. Like, I don't understand. But it's like that proves my point about what I was saying in the off season when we were doing the Yankee recap for the season. They should get rid of him for this exact reason. You don't want a DH clogging up your lineup who's not going to produce and not going to be on the field. So I think they got to have those things discussed internally. But Cashman, I don't know why he's saying so many things publicly. Like, I hear the rumor he's looking to trade Gleyber Torres to Boston for Verdugo. Like, what the? Get out of here! Like, who does that?
yeah, I don't know. I'm glad he's not my GM though,
Oh
because I would
my
lose it.
gosh! And it's like hell. Like, do you not care? Like, can you like talk to this man? Like, just tell him chill out. Like, what guy is gonna want to come play for a GM like that? Who, if I was Stanton, I'd be pissed right now. I wouldn't want to play. So yeah, Cashman, I knew he was the problem. Kind of just enforces that. Makes me realize that yep, I am 1,000% sure Cashman is the problem. He needs to go. But yeah, I don't know what the Yankees like. I don't even know if we're gonna get Yamamoto now with those kind of comments. It's like, oh, what if he gets hurt? Then it's like, oh, I don't want to play with a GM that doesn't support me if I get hurt. Like that's part of the game. Injuries happen, but in Stanton's case, you know the injury history and you still signed him. So yeah, Cashman is a disaster. He's a train wreck. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm speechless with Cashman to be honest.
Yeah, I don't doubt you.
Stupid GM.
Well, the rest of the awards, Gold Gloves are out, Silver Sluggers announced. I don't think there are any surprises there. I think JD Martinez should have been Silver Slugger over Bryce Harper, but maybe I'm just being a little bit biased there. Um,
You could have a case there because I think JD played more than Bryce Harper. Bryce
And
Harper missed the
he
first couple
slugged
months.
better actually, like actually slugged better. So I don't know. Maybe that's just giving Bryce Harper because he's Bryce Harper. Anyway, Corbin Carroll and Gunnar Henderson, rookie of the years. I don't think any surprise or argument.
Yeah,
Um,
both unanimous. So
yeah,
kind of a yeah, can't really debate that.
but yeah, because we talked about Volpe on the last one, right? Um, he already
Gold
had his Gold
Glover.
Glove, so yeah, good for the Yankees. But other than that, still waiting for the MVP. I think it's just going to be Shohei and Acuna. Um, Probably
Yeah.
not too big of a shocker there. Cy Young, I think it's going to be Cole. I'll say Snell, Cole and Snell probably safe picks. Um,
Well, let me just say it better be Garrett Cole.
oh yeah,
That's
the
all I have to
AL
say.
is
It
going to be
better
Cole.
be Garrett
No,
Cole.
no, is it going to be Snell? Probably, I would think. Even as rough as a start as he had, um, I would still go with probably Blake Snell. But that'll wrap up the main sports stuff. Foolish fools, you got anything?
Oh yeah. I do have I have one foolish fool. I didn't
All
write
right,
it down, but the foolish fool of the week is you.
me.
Yeah, it's you. Let me explain. Let me explain.
Okay.
So, in our fantasy league,
Oh,
you offered
oh,
me
the Cooks one.
the most ridiculous trade.
You were trying to get. Okay, I'll let you finish.
Like, first off, who in their right mind would trade Brandon Cooks for an RB1 on their team? Let me just point that out there.
He's
Brandon Cooks,
hurt. You get value
he's
now with
coming.
Brandon
He's
Cooks.
so I'm gonna give away my best running back for Brandon Cooks, who has one good game.
Okay, it wasn't just gonna be Cooks, but
Yeah.
continue.
No, no, that's all I need to say.
I
Brandon
okay.
Cooks, a bench wide receiver for my
You tried to
RB1.
trade for him early, so I thought maybe you'd still want him. Maybe you still valued him pretty high.
No,
That was just a feeler I was throwing out. That wasn't just
a feeler that's like out of the stratosphere. If you're gonna ask for my RB1, at least give me a quality, player
I
that you
was gonna offer
start.
someone else too, but that was just testing it out.
Oh
Um,
my gosh. See
I
that
think
tweet
it's
that Riley said? That
I
was
think it's just
you.
number
That
one
wasn't me.
bias because I'm in first place and no one wants to trade with me and no one even wants to hear me out. So,
No, but
um,
I beat the first place guy, so I
yeah, you
got the
did.
upset.
That's true. I did have two of my best players on a bye, but whatever. Um, but yeah, okay, fine, I'll take it because yeah, that's fine. Um, State of the 808 to round us out here. Dylan Gabriel passes his idol, one of our favorite players of all time, Colt Brennan, rest in peace. Um, 10th all time. I can't believe Dylan Gabriel's been in college football long enough to be top 10 in all time passing yards, but hey, he's going to be up there now. He'll be around the top for a long time, I think, especially now with quarterbacks not really staying 4+ years anymore. Or at least the good ones. But to be top 10 all time in passing yards in NCAA history, yeah, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Season hasn't gone the way they wanted it to go, obviously, but maybe he can boost that draft stock just a smidge. Even if he goes undrafted, like he has the college tape at least to give him a chance. And we've seen some guys, Aiden O'Connell. I don't think we expected to be starting in the NFL. Tyson, is it Bagnett for the Bears?
Tyson Bagent.
Bagent,
Bagent.
Bagent. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing that, but he was a D2 quarterback, right? Undrafted free agent, was the fifth quarterback or some ridiculous thing like that. Now he's starting for the Bears, so you never know what could happen. So congrats to Dylan on that. Hopefully we get to see him on Sundays as well. But other than that, Matt, let's wrap it up here. Sports fact of the day, and then take us home.
All right. We're recording on November 13th. So we'll go back to kind of an old one here, 18. 1975. It was a college football game between Harvard and Yale. It was the first game where I guess both teams had uniforms, matching uniforms for their respective schools. So that's a pretty old one. I didn't even know college football existed in the 1800s.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
interesting,
it
honestly.
would be our Harvard and Yale, those nerds out there in the Ivy League. They know how to put things together and innovate. So yeah, that's my sports fact of the day. A old
Okay.
one in the 1800s.
Okay, cool. Well, that'll about do it for us. I'll be back with some Dolphins talk, and hopefully we still have hope for UH next week when we're talking about football. So everyone have a good week as usual. Stay safe. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys later.